Welcome back to the next update on the Volkswagen T2 1.9 TDI conversion, which eventually went this road to put the engine completely sideways, actually in a position where the fuel tank used to be, because we don't really need a fuel tank. It was in a crap position anyway. However, we come back to the fuel tank in a minute, but now let me show you the subframe which is in place. I've made this kind of new frame to keep the subframe. I've machined these tubes on the lathe and slide them in this rectangular section. It is all nice and thick. It is 4 millimeters, nearly 4 millimeters thick, nice and strong. Now, as you see, these are not on the same level, so that's why they actually slide in. What I've did, I put this in place and I put the subframe all nice and square to the body, to the chassis, and then welded everything in, so we make sure everything is nice and square respectively to the chassis, so we don't have any problems with alignments and all that stuff. Now, this section here, this tube here, this is nearly 4 millimeters thick. Usually I will make some kind of reinforcement plate on the chassis, weld that plate to the chassis to make it reinforced, and then weld to this. However, it turns out this section not only is, because you can see there's some rust on this van, but the chassis is actually very clean on both sides. Not only this, but this is very thick. They made them very nicely. So there was actually no, I can't tell you how thick it is, but it's very good. I mean, I had no troubles with welding and penetration, all the stuff didn't burn through. So again, didn't have to reinforce it whatsoever. None of them, not this section, not this section on the frame, this one, it grabs the chassis legs from both sides, so it's very strong on its own without welding whatsoever. But yeah, this is the reason why I didn't put any plates on it, which I usually do, but in this time made my job easier. Both sides actually, because you see this is going from this section as well. If you see underneath, it grabs the chassis leg from one side over this side and on the other side here. And because they're not too long, and the subframe, obviously this is part of the same subframe, have this mount which is very close to the chassis leg. I don't think there's going to be any lateral movement whatsoever, so I think this is strong enough. Again, when I say strong enough, I mean stronger than we need. There's going to be no doubt that this is not going to move whatsoever. Now we still have to weld these engine mounts on the chassis legs, but that's once I remove them, because I don't want any heat transmitted to these engine mounts, because I can actually burn them or overheat them inside. I don't want to take that risk. The engine has to come off anyway, because we still have to put I don't know if you can see the alternator there. Yes, there where there's no space. Let me show what we're gonna do. I supposed to make a scoop over there for the alternator, but I think I'm gonna make something, a proper opening that is gonna be open from this side as well, kind of this shape roughly. Obviously I have to get the engine out and measure everything to make an exact position, but I wanted this area open so you can access the alternator, and just makes the job easier for any servicing or inspection or changing the belt or tension and all that stuff. Just, you know, make the life easier afterwards, because, you know, it's one thing to build everything nice and works, and then when you have to service it, it's a pain in the ass because you build it this way. So try to think ahead. So yes, alternator there. So the engine is going to go out, subframe is going to go out, and this is a perfect timing because I just came back from holiday, 1 week, and in meantime all the parts have arrived, which we have a beautiful flywheel and clutch assembly from Dark Side Developments. I think, if I'm not wrong, this is the 560 newton-meters one. Then we have the new tandem pump, which the original one from that engine was leaking pretty badly. And the most important thing, this is where the power comes from, apart from the turbo, obviously, injectors. These are the beautiful bits that deliver fuel, enough fuel for how much? How many? I don't know. 270, 180 brakes. I'm hoping for something more. However, it's only a hope, because like I said before, I think I said it before, Everyone says that if you want to reach anything over 270 brakes to 80 brakes, you need a camshaft on these engines. However, all these builds I've seen, they all use standard plenums. We know exactly how much difference a good plenum make. The plenum I made, which is on the top of my engine on the Silvia, you've seen that in previous videos, it's kind of an equal flow plenum with integrated charge cooler inside. And I'm hoping this is going to improve the performance of the engine. It's not going to improve the performance straight away, it's going to improve the engine efficiency, which in consequence you can have better performance. Exhaust manifold I think is pretty good as well, so maybe we can see something more, something over 280 brakes, but you know what, let's not even think about this. Once this thing is done, we've got a proper gearbox, strong clutch, CV joints are straight, we can put all the power we want through them, so we're gonna dyno and see what happens. Another thing, what else I have is these shift cables. Very, very long ones, because obviously the shift cables have to go from the front of the van to the back, and they have to do a loop behind the gearbox. So yeah, there you go, marine cables, stainless. They're very strong, very resistant, you probably never have to change them, just grease them up probably. Also, another thing that I've just done, just finished, is the fuel tank. Look at the beauty. Now, this fuel tank is a marine fuel tank which Nick found on eBay, I think, or somewhere. Someone was selling it. It's actually a brand new one, never been used. And it fits perfectly inside the chassis legs, by a surprise. The length is good, well, perfect pretty much. The height and the shape is pretty much perfect as well. So this is very good news, because it saves me a lot of time to build one. And the only problem we encounter with this fuel tank is a fuel starvation. If you pay attention, it's a very long shape. So let's say, for example, you have low fuel level, okay, and you're braking or you're going down the hill, so all the fuel is going to go down there, so in the front of the fuel tank. And if the fuel sender is going to, or pickup is going to be on the back, you have a fuel starvation. So what we're going to do, we're going to do exactly the same thing we do on the race cars and drift cars and some of the off-road cars as well. You're going to put a fuel cell. So what's going to happen is the fuel pump is going to pump fuel from the tank to this fuel cell. The fuel cell is going to have, for example, 2 or 3 liters of fuel. Now, if we have a problem with the fuel starvation in the fuel tank, it's only going to be for a short period of time, 30 seconds, a minute, 2 minutes. That's exaggerating, but even if. But the engine itself is actually relying on the fuel inside that small fuel cell, which always going to be full of fuel, no matter what. So that's the solution, which is very, very simple, which I'm going to have to do exactly the same on my van, which finally I got my fuel tanks and I went exactly the same direction. I got 2 of these fuckers. Obviously pretty much the same size. I think this is 106 liters and I'm going to have 105 liters. But there's going to be a slight difference in range, because obviously I'm running 606 engine, which is not as good an MPG, nowhere near 35 inches, blah blah, heavy vehicle and all the stuff. So I'm doing about 24, 25, 27 miles per gallon, and Nick is doing pretty much twice that. So no, I just spit. We've calculated the fuel range on this one. Not being careful on driving, so normal driving, traffic, and sometimes, give it some beans, have some fun, etc, etc. This should be able to do easily over 200 miles, which is pretty good, I would say. So like I said before, everything we're gonna touch, yes, because the thing is, we went extreme, okay, on this engine. We changed completely everything, but I'll say if we touch the chassis, we improve the chassis. If we touch the suspension geometry, we're going to improve the suspension geometry, and we did. If we touch the fuel tank, we're going to improve the fuel tank, and I believe this is the way to go. So when you look back and you say, okay, but we went compromising. No, we didn't, because everything is improved. Just the fuel tank, just imagine, is there. It used to be there on the top there, and now it's there. It's much lower, You got over 100 kilograms of fuel, but it's just underneath of the van, in between the chassis legs. There is no better position for that. The weight distribution is going to be much better. Now the engine itself used to be there, now is there. The whole gearbox and the engine is there. Is actually in the front of the axle. You know what I mean? So the handling is going to be improved massively. The width of the car is larger. We're going to have a proper suspensions. Well, we already have them. We have a proper anti-roll bar. There you go. Which these vans don't have any anti-roll bar. So to be honest, I'm very excited about this stuff. The most important thing is that, like I say, have all the parts that are needed, nearly all the parts. All we need still is I think we're going to use T4 or T5, I think, shifter, 6-speed shifter. So I can use this, so I can move these cables. But I got all the parts, I got the clutch, I got the injectors, slave, cylinder, I got the tandem pump. So when I'm going to take this engine out and I'm going to put the alternator on and make a space for the alternator, I can actually now finish to weld everything inside as it's supposed to be painted against the corrosion and all that stuff. Assemble the engine as it should be and put it in. So there's nothing missing. I don't have to wait for any parts. So now it's just up to me to actually do the job. And I'm pretty confident if I can get 10-12 hours per day, solid work, solid labor. This week I'm gonna fly, however we're gonna on holiday again this long weekend, so it's not gonna be full week, but we have to use the weather till it's good, because now soon it's gonna be shit. It doesn't matter. If it snows, we're gonna go to Scotland. So holiday, always in holiday. Back to us. I think it was snowing already. So yes, this week is not gonna be a long week, but gonna do a lot. And next week, end of next week, I'm expecting this to be actually running. So not long now. I really want to see the dyno results and the handling. We will definitely have to set the brakes up, because obviously now we've got way more powerful brakes on the back than on the front. So we will have to do something about that. But yeah, I'll see you soon. Happy day. I'm excited. I'm excited to be back in the workshop. Good. See you soon.